body fixed up a little bit better, get that air back on the rear spoiler for him.
Menard now shown running on the lead lap in the 22nd position. Remember, he was involved in our third caution as well. Contact coming off of turn number 2 when Colin Brown was involved.
A great opportunity for Stephen Wallace behind Kyle Busch on the high side, which seemed to be favored.
And here is the restart. Kyle Busch, Trevor Bayne. Lap 111 complete now. Busch with the advantage through 1 and 2. And here comes Steve Wallace. Ray, you talked about him before. He's now got that momentum on the outside line and looks like he could challenge those front two. Yeah, it would be a great night. Steven's already got a win here. He won an ARCA race a few years ago. But he's got some laps here. And remember, his dad designed this track, so what better place for him to win his first race now? I think he might have let him in the gate, and he probably slept in the grandstands here a couple times, too. That can be worth something.
Only 2 drivers have gained more points in the last 8 races than Stephen Wallace. That tells you a little bit about the momentum he has coming into the weekend. Wallace running third, trying to chase down Bayne in second. Kyle Busch still leading. Busch has been led the most laps, 88 so far tonight. And when Kyle has led the most laps on an evening, it works out well for him here in 2010.
Steven said he was going to stay down at the bottom, and it looks like his car is really fast. He is hugging that bottom, just like he said he was going to. It's true. We talked to both he and Brendan before the weekend started. They came here with 2 completely different setups. This looks to be the right one.
You look at the Braun Racing teammates, 38 of Leffler right there, and the 11 of Brian Scott. Leffler running in the 8th position, Scott in the 9th. Just ahead of them, Matt DiBenedetto. The second best running Joe Gibbs Racing car here tonight. Kyle Busch being the first of those. There's Matt. Matt doing a good job here tonight. And this is for the lead. Bayne again making his move. Kyle's car started off better. Bayne looking to the inside. And Kyle holding that outside line. He doesn't want to give that up.
We have seen this over and over. These guys are giving and taking, showing a lot of respect toward one another. And when they get side by side, they slow down, which opens the opportunity for Steven and Brad Keselowski.
And one of our points leader, Keselowski, I don't know what we've seen him in tonight, as he works to the outside of Steve Wallace now. Looks like he's going to get third. Like his car is coming to him, right?
It is. As we said, they've had a little bit more time. He got to come back down pit road, make some minor adjustments. Remember, these guys, the first laps they made were qualifying, so they needed to adjust those cars. And as the sun goes down and it gets cooler, they continue to adjust. Shannon, have you got more on the 22?
Yeah, guys, this 22 car has been a handful for Brad Keselowski tonight. On the first pit stop, they went 2 rounds down on the track bar and also made an air pressure adjustment. Still very loose all over the racetrack. So on the last pit stop, they went back and made another track bar adjustment. So right now, as we see, I think it's just the adjustments that are really coming into play. And also, obviously, like you said, the changing track temperature.
Shannon, I'll tell you who else was loose at this restart was the 18 of our leader, Kyle Busch. We saw Trevor Bayne make a move and get to him. There might have been a reason. Watch this, guys. Whoa! On board with Bayne, and he sees the opportunity, doesn't he, Ricky?
Yeah, he sees the opportunity. He knows where Kyle's vulnerable now. He'll try to take advantage of it, but Kyle Busch runs out front so much in the lead that we don't get to speak of his ability and how difficult the car is sometimes. His teammates running back toward 10th. That gives us an example of, even though it looks easy, he is on the edge.
And Ray, what was the spark there? We saw as he grabbed it, there was a spark.
Well, as you turn the car to the right and it unloads, underneath it could have drug sway bar arm. They run these things so close to the ground, coil bound. The front end is on the ground. They start maybe 6 inches height under the air dam and completely seal against the racetrack. So when they move, when they rock back and forth left to right, could drag just about anything.
And as the track cools down and they speed up, carry more speed into the corner, it could get exaggerated, couldn't it?
Oh, yeah. And when you think about it, you're running down in that corner at 150 miles an hour, the last thing you want to do is think about the gas pedal when you're turning right.
Right. Stephen Wallace gives up 4th now, back to Harvick. Wallace was on the charge early, and here is a battle for 2nd brewing, as now Keselowski is going to look to the inside of Bayne. And then go nose to nose right now. Bayne still with the advantage coming off the corner.
Trevor spent most of the night on the bottom of the racetrack, the low side. Be interesting to see how he manages this.
Well, who's held him off on the high side all night, right? Kyle Busch has run very well up there.
A little bit of a twitch from the 22 there on corner entry. Had to roll out of it. Regain his composure.
You can see, I think these guys have got the cars a little bit free, anticipating that as the sun goes down even more and the track cools off, that it's going to get a little bit tight. might be a little bit free as they pinch it off on the bottom underneath of another race car.
Well, Ray, we're approaching the halfway point right now, and with these racetracks, as the sun goes down, as the temperatures cool, generally speaking, we're going to find out who has the best second half race car, right?
Yeah, and again, that communication, this is where the experience of the Cup guys really comes into play. They run a lot of races, they communicate a lot with their crew chiefs, and they know what to expect. A guy like Trevor Bayne doesn't really have a lot of races under his belt, especially going from day to night, so he's going to have to rely on maybe Johnny Benson and Jerry Baxter helping him up, talking him into making some changes there on his race car.
And there was a reason that Brad Keselowski and Paul Wolf were leading the point standings, and they've completed all but one lap this year. They have great dialogue, and Paul missed that during practice. He had some great help, but it's nothing like his primary driver because they've put up big numbers all year long.
And you are very complimentary of Paul Wolf before you. Paul Wolf may be one of the brightest guys in the garage area, but you had a theory on that, Ricky.
Yeah, I love the way he works. I love the way he goes about his business. But, I do. I think that the former drivers are some of the best crew chiefs. And I used you as an example. Andy Petrie's another example. But, you understand the language the driver uses. I think it gives you a head start. And you can speak to it better than anybody, right?
Well, really, the only thing my driving did for me was make me a better fabricator because I had to fix and wreck race cars all the time. But that's a whole nother story.
There is nothing bet on these race cars right now as Harvick now looks to the inside. On the right side of your screen. Here's 7th place on the left side up for contention right now. Carl Edwards holding down that spot. He is being pressured by the 11 of Brian Scott and Matt DiBenedetto waiting in the wings. And there's the 12 of Allgaier as well.
Charles, who are these young guys? I've got all these kids, chasing me down. What a great job some of these young guys are doing. We spoke to Brian Scott, great young man. Again, there's just a ton of talent waiting in the wings in this Nationwide Series. We were so excited to hear Joe Ballas talk today about some of the things that could be coming up. They know how important this series is to bringing new talent into NASCAR, and here you're seeing it on the racetrack, guys.
And one of the things that they've talked about, and there's been a buzz about this for a couple of years now, because the last 4 champions have been Sprint Cup drivers who have run all the Sprint Cup laps and then have won the championships here in Nationwide. Part of it is to highlight the younger guys and maybe not award as many points as we see Edwards down to the inside now of Brian Scott, maybe limiting their involvement in this series for the younger guys' benefit.
Absolutely, to give those guys an opportunity to get more exposure, more experience, and create opportunities. But we see a great race going on between Trevor Bayne, Brad Keselowski, and now Kevin Harvick's jumped in that party.
But make no mistake about it, guys. When you look to the right of your screen, Trevor Bayne is benefiting from being able to race against Keselowski, Kevin Harvick. For me, back in 93, 94, when I finished second in points, I got better because I raced against Harry Gant, Dale Earnhardt Sr., Mark Martin. I didn't want to do it every week, but I benefited from it when I raced against them.
So you don't pull them out all together, and I bet the 40,000 plus who are here to see the race tonight don't want them pulled out all together either.
Right.
They want to see those superstars. Well, we're seeing a great battle right now as the young kid, the 19-year-old Trevor Bayne in that 99 car, holding off Brad Keselowski and Kevin Harvick. Again, Bayne spent an hour and a half this morning on the racetrack. Keselowski and Harvick commuted from the Pocono raceway to get down here, jumped in their cars for qualifying. They're coming to him later in the race here. DiBenedetto taking over 8th position from Edwards, or does he?
We have seen this all night, side by side. Drivers capable of getting underneath one another, but not able to clear the driver.
Well, Matty D is cleared of the 60 car, Shannon.
Well, you guys discussed the fact that he has had some poor runs in the past 2 weeks. In fact, last week he finished 31st, a career worst. The advice he got from his crew chief, memory loss is good in racing. He said, you're only as good as your next race. Look forward and focus on this race here tonight. So far, the car has been very good. Just a little bit on the tight side, but they've definitely been working on it. Ricky Ray, you guys might be able to talk about the memory loss.
Yeah, now it's not funny, but as I looked at that picture of Matt DiBenedetto, is he old enough to race? Was that kid old enough to race?
Barely. But let's bring some clarity to this. I think that Shannon was speaking about you and I driving back to the airport and getting lost 3 times.
Well, with all the years of racing experience, we should have some great stories, Ricky, but unfortunately we can't remember.
All that racing experience and getting lost in the airport. Very interesting.
Look at this racing.
It's awesome.
You can tell I enjoy the racing when I'm driving from up here.
Yeah, I've watched your hand motions. Yep, very much so. Harvick still has that inside line. I'm trying to think. I mean, Ray, what would you, both of you, what would you set your car up to do here? Would you run the low line or would you set it up for the high line?
Well, I'll tell you what, right now it looks like you better have your car set up to run both those lines because you're going to have to move all over the racetrack. I think what we're seeing, though, the most important thing was to be able for the driver to hold on to the car as it was free enough early.